Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back. So oftentimes I will cover monster taming articles that either call all monster taming games knockoffs or ripoffs of Pokemon or whatever, but I do also like to cover articles that I think kind of get it right or at the very least are a lot more open-minded to these types of games. Today's article is from CBR, which is surprising because CBR also had an article from 2017 or 2018 that were saying a bunch of these games were clones, but this is called 10 Games Unfairly Called Pokemon Ripoffs by Samuel Williams and Why They're Not. So I'm going to get into the article. I haven't read the whole thing, but I have sort of glanced through it, and we're going to sort of talk about how I think the perspective of the general public is changing and is getting more warm towards these types of games. Most of the ripoff and knockoff articles and videos and stuff like that are from, between 2 to 5 years ago. So I think public perception is changing towards these games, which is what we want. And that's sort of what the goal of my channel is. So I do think while it is good to call out ripoffs and the ripoff narrative and stuff like that, it's also good to sort of give credence to people like this that are actually having an open mind. So let's read through their article. Pokemon is one of the most popular video game franchises. Naturally, copycats sprung up left and right to try to catch some of the hype. Games like Nexomon and Neopets are prime examples of companies trying to sneak away some of the more popular series fans. Now, I wouldn't call them copycats, but we'll get into what they have to say. However, it's not as if Pokemon owns the monster collecting genre. Monster taming, but you're good. They weren't even the first to take a crack at it. If a game or series truly has enough that separates itself from the Nintendo flagship, it is not a knockoff. People are oftentimes too quick to call games just that, simply because they are sharing a passing similarity with the gaming titan. Number 10, Monster Crown. It takes a darker tone. While Monster Crown is fairly similar to Pokemon, having nearly identical combat and catching mechanics, that's not true. Catching has to do with your level as well, like the level differences. When the game first came out, it was purely based on level differences. The combat system is very different. It's one-on-one. You have 6 moves. There's only 5 types. The types work in a rotating circle as opposed to having like a type chart. There's a synergy system that allows you for mid-battle transformations that give you extra buffs. You can build synergy through battle. There's a bunch of different things in the Monster Crown combat system that make it completely not like Pokemon other than the one-on-one aspect. There is enough separating Monster Crown from its obvious inspiration for it to stand on its own. That said, it is definitely inspired. It's just more different than I think people give it credit for. The largest dividing factor by far is the story. I disagree, but okay. In Pokemon, the main story revolves around the protagonist battling gyms, fighting an evil team, and taking on the champion to be the best. Monster Crown darkens the plot and heightens the stakes, having the main character goal focused on stopping an imminent threat of the evil king's return. I wouldn't say Monster Crown heightens the stakes because Gen 4, they were going to destroy the universe. So heightening stakes isn't necessarily even a good thing. But if you were going to talk about a game that's story is what mainly separates it apart, I'd say something like Nexomon. Those games are more separated from Pokemon because of their story rather than combat, which is more similar. But still, nonetheless, I'm definitely glad that this person is in fact, saying, look, these aren't the same thing. These aren't copycats. These aren't knockoffs. Number 9, Shin Megami Tensei, where it all started. Now, technically, that's not true. Cosmic Soldier did come out before the original Megami Tensei game, but most people don't even know what the hell that is. Anyone who knows anything about Shin Megami Tensei series will tell you how ridiculous it is to claim that the series is a Pokemon knockoff. For one, the series predates Pokemon by nearly 10 years. Secondly, other than the fact that monsters are acquired and trained, the gameplay is completely different than its kid-friendly counterpart. Nonetheless, plenty of YouTubers have cited the SMT franchise as a Pokemon knockoff, warranting its mention. Okay, speaking of which, I did a response video to Adam Millard's video a while back. I've mentioned it a couple times at this point. That video was just sort of going over one aspect of his video that I felt like missed the mark. There are other YouTube videos on the platform that are still up that spread really bad misinformation about monster taming. I didn't ever do a response to them because I'm not the type of person who wants to have drama. Like, I'd much rather have, like, a respectful response instead of, like, yo, this guy, like, I'm not my thing. But, and some of the videos are a little older, but let me know if you guys would want me to do responses to those and sort of deconstruct why their points aren't right. Because even though they came out years ago, these videos are still getting thousands of views every month. And people are eating this stuff up. So it's like, oh, well, there's one video by someone who said Dragon Quest and Shin Megami Tensei are Pokemon ripoffs, and it's so misinformed. And while the video came out like 4 or 5 years ago, that's one thing, but the video's still up and people are still watching it. So it's still having a negative impact. So let me know if you guys want me to cover more videos like that, because there's a lot of like really smug Pokemon fans that just like to, cite these videos as ways to sort of, push forward their narrative. So let me know. 8, Ni no Kuni has real-time battle. Yeah, you can, if you call Ni no Kuni a Pokemon-like, or like even a Pokemon-like, like you're just dumb. One of the newer Monster Collector series out there, the Ni no Kuni games, I wouldn't call it one of the newer, but have separated themselves from Pokemon in every way imaginable. The art style of the game's heavily influenced by Studio Ghibli. Well, actually, the game is actually, I'm pretty sure he actually did the art. The story is about a son traveling to a magical world to save his mother, and the combat is in real time rather than being turn-based. Monster Rancher adds alternate training methods. Monster Rancher first debuted in the PS1. It's a racing game. If you think Monster Rancher is like Pokemon, like that's ridiculous. Like, has semi-real-time battles. It has, it's all about monster raising through menu-based stuff. People used to call Monster Rancher a Pokemon clone, which I think is ridiculous. World of Fantasy stacks up its competition, number 6. Created by Square Enix and based in the World of Final Fantasy series, World of Final Fantasies for the PS4, it's also out for other platforms too, certainly has a few Pokemon-like attributes. When certain creatures are weak, they can be imprisoned and added to the team. However, the battle mechanics are distinct from other monster collecting games. Characters can be stacked on top of one another based on their size, which can lead to fun ability combos as well as funny images. Nothing is better than a baby stacked on top of a human, which in turn is stacked on top of the god of death himself. Coco Vaders. I've actually never heard of this game. Choco Vaders? While not much exists on the internet about the franchise, Choco Vaders was a line of alien toys that appeared in the Japanese hollow chocolate eggs. These things are Kinder Surprises? In 2002, Uchu Daisakusen Choco Vader was released in Japan for Game Boy Advance to help promote sales. I didn't know this was a thing. Might be worth looking into. Monster Hunter Stories hatched its own scheme. A spin-off of the series Monster Hunter, the Stories games are an interesting new take on the monster collecting RPG. Instead of having you catch monsters, the player instead finds eggs that they hatched into loyal sidekicks. Monsters also don't evolve, rather they can be mutated to gain new abilities that they couldn't learn naturally, or the player can simply find better fighters as the games go on. The level up system as well as the type are both very similar to Pokemon. I mean, the level system in Pokemon is just a basic RPG leveling system. So, like, yeah, they're similar to Pokemon, but, like, what RPG's leveling system isn't that similar to Pokemon? Like, I'm sure there are some, but, like, it's pretty basic. But since everything else goes in a different direction, the series should... Yeah, if you Monster Hunter Stories is very different from Pokemon. Card Fight Vanguard, they're card games. If you think a card game is like Pokemon, you're dumb. Like, if you think a card game's a Pokemon ripoff, like, you're just dumb. Dragon Quest Monsters had more diverse gameplay. Another one of Square Enix's monster collecting game, Dragon Quest Monsters, has more in common with Shin Megami Tensei series of games than it does Pokemon franchise. Defeating monsters sometimes rewards player with monster hearts, which can be combined to create stronger beasts. As new games come out, the core gameplay was fiddled with to creating a new gaming experience. In Dragon Quest Monsters Caravan Heart, for example, building the player's caravan becomes almost as much of the focus as monster collection aspect. Okay, so one thing about Dragon Quest Monsters that I would have liked them to talk about here is Dragon Quest Monsters, while it probably did come out in response to the popularity of Pokemon, it's actually an expansion of Dragon Quest V's mechanics in a way. So it's like a spin-off game based like that goes more heavily into the already existing Dragon Quest monster taming that came out before Pokemon. And number 1, Digimon World focused slightly more on realism. The Digimon World series, like the anime, has a bit more depth than Pokemon. Digimon digivolve based on how the player treats them and how effectively they're raised. If they're raised well, they get better stats, unlock better abilities, and are just all around better. After Digimon reaches its maximum level and or dies, it returns to egg form, sort of like a phoenix, and must be raised again. This sort of impermanence makes it a tough game to play for those who love the collection aspect of Pokemon, but at the same time, it makes the partners the audience is raised seem all more real. Now, I actually am guilty of not having played a Digimon World game, so something I might want to check out in the future. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the article. So there were a couple things that I think I can't, like, I don't want to be too critical, because I'm sure this person's writing articles like every day on a bunch of different things, and I could tell that they're not like super into the monster taming scene, because they did miss a lot of points that I would have probably included. Like, for example, Monster Crown's battle differences. There was another one. There was another one that I was like, they should have mentioned this, or even like the differences with Dragon Quest Monster being from Dragon Quest V and stuff like that. Like, I didn't expect them to know the Cosmic Soldier thing. Like, that's a really random fact. Like, I think most people don't even know about that. But all in all, like, a good article if you're looking for something very surface level that sort of talks about this Pokemon ripoff narrative. Like, it's important that we get more people to that have a platform to sort of talk about this and get them to discuss why Pokemon-like games, or games that aren't even like Pokemon, like the games on this list. It's important to get people to talk about why calling these games Pokemon clones is stupid and shouldn't be tolerated, because Pokemon is awesome, but it didn't create monster taming. And Pokemon is not the foundation of this genre. It's the most popular game in the genre. There are some games inspired by it, just like every other genre of game. There's games inspired by Mario, there's games inspired by Zelda, but those games don't own their genres, just like Pokemon doesn't own this one. Anyways, with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. I figured this would just be a fun sort of casual video diving into one of these, and let me know again if you guys would want me to do some response videos to some of the really bad Pokemon clone lists on YouTube, because there's quite a few, and I do think that they end up damaging the genre as a whole. So I think at the very least, like, changing some minds about that by deconstructing some of the points could be helpful. But with all that said, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe. I put out new monster taming videos every single day. Check out my Discord, my Patreon, my Twitter, all links below. Special thanks to my patrons, especially our top tier backers, being Dro Ghost, Jim Hamilton, Dark Persona, and Steel Case. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.